Hey, good evening, good people. Welcome to Sunday. It is listen, it's time for a pep talk. All right. So it is February. This is the first full week of February, and we're about to jump right into it because you're getting ready for your week. It's Sunday night. We're planning, we're thinking. You might have a staff meeting. You have to set the tone for the entire week, and you might need a pep talk because I promise you, last week was crazy. For some of us. Not all of us, because some of us had the week on lock. Some of us had the week handled and controlled, and you had a phenomenal week. But there were others of us who struggled, and we struggled mightily, man. And we come to this point in our week where we say, all right, let's reflect and let's get ready. Because I think it's time for a pep talk. So, this week, as we get ready to the week, here's the pep talk. And I'm talking to those who had a tough week. If you didn't have a tough week, you can skip this week. Or you can take this information and share it with your assistant principal, or share it with your dean, or share it with yourself, because there's going to come a time when you're going to have a tough week and you're going to need a pep talk. And for this pep talk this week, I want to remind you that your feelings are causing problems. Your feelings are causing problems. You're in your feelings because you don't want to do something. You're in your feelings because you absolutely did something. And I'm telling you, those things are probably causing you problems. Here's the thing. You are not alone. I'm a high school principal, so I get it. And I'm in it with you. And let me tell you, I'm having some struggles myself. So I need to listen to my own words today as we give this pep talk, because I need a pep talk, because something happened in my school and in my building under my leadership. And it was because of me that we have a problem. And why do we have a problem? Because I waited. I waited to take action. I waited to decide. And what happened was, when I didn't make a decision, I was making a decision because I didn't make one. And when I didn't make the decision as the leader, what happened was there was no clarity, but there was confusion. So there's confusion amongst roles and responsibilities. I'll just tell you, listen, I have a team. I'm not going to be as specific because, I don't know, they might be listening. And I don't want to, I don't mind, but everybody's not as vulnerable as I am about my leadership. So I have a team, and I have a couple positions where I had to choose who was going to lead this particular area of work in our school. And I wasn't comfortable with the direction we were going with one leader, and I wanted to move in a different direction with a different leader. Now, here's the thing. I think everybody in my building is a leader, so I treat them as such. They're all leaders in my building, and I treat them as such. And so I had a male leader who I did not feel was in the right space, in the right position at this time to lead the work that we're doing. I had a female leader who was learning the process, willing to learn, open, vulnerable, will make mistakes and own it. And I felt like the leadership was a little bit more strong. The communication was a little bit more clear going down this avenue as opposed to the leadership of my male leader. But I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want to say, hey, I want to go a different direction. I wasn't direct. I was very indirect. I was very passive. And what ended up happening was the roles were not clearly defined. And so when I finally made a decision, I had my female leader trying her best to take lead and be the head and do what she needed to do to lead the team. But she couldn't quite get in. It's like double dutch. If you ever played double dutch and the ropes are going, and then you're trying to find your way to get in, you're bouncing, you're waiting for the right rhythm, you got the right cadence going, and then you jump in and get into the mix. she really couldn't get into the mix because the male leader assumed the role and was assuming the position and moving forward. And I didn't step in as a leader and clearly define the duties, responsibilities, and the roles of this particular team. So I waited and waited and waited, and I paid for it. And now feelings are involved, emotions are involved, and now we're at a situation where I got to figure out how to make things work, calm things down, smooth things over. I have to fix it because the mess I made wasn't cleaned up when it should have been cleaned up. Why? Because I was in my feelings. And I'm self-aware enough to know that I find as many ways and avenues to avoid conflict as much as possible. And as a building leader, as a school leader, you can't afford to do that. Now, every building leader, every principal is not wired the same. Every leader is not wired the same. Some leaders would have went right in there and said, hey, nope, you, here are the roles, responsibilities, you do it. I'm just not wired like that. I have to do it in a way where I like relationships, and I don't want to break up a relationship or negatively impact a relationship because of decisions that I make. But I should be used to that, right? Because I've been a principal for over 12 years, and I know what I'm doing. But yet and still, my blind spots come back to haunt me. You know what I mean by blind spots? When you're driving, and in order for you to switch lanes, you can switch lanes, you can get over. You have cars that have the blind spot detector in the mirrors. But sometimes you need to check over that shoulder and just make sure. And I didn't do that. I'm being vulnerable here. I know I'm not the only one. So I have to go and fix it. But I want to say right now that I need a pep talk because guess what? I can't sit here and think that this is somebody else, is on somebody else, is on. They should already know their roles. They should. But they didn't. And I did nothing about it. Come on. Your feelings are going to cause problems for you. So understand that in a leadership role, you have to make some decisions. There's a decision that has to be made. You either make a good decision, a bad decision, or if you don't make a decision, that's a decision too. And that's the decision I made. It was indecision. And now it's causing problems. So I got to fix it. I got to get back in there. And I need to do it as soon as possible. So here's the tip. If you're struggling with making a decision, if you're struggling because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you got to you got to write it down. Write down what you need to say, what you want to say, and how you want to convey. Right? That's the number one plan. That's step one. Step two. Your job as a leader, you got to smooth this thing over. So once you write it down and get it, you have to find a grand way to make this change happen. But you need to do it in a timely fashion. My recommendation is do it at the beginning of the day. Get it over with. Get rid of the bugs, shake them off, and at the beginning of the day, have the meeting you're going to have. So I will switch those around. Make the meeting at the beginning of the day. And number two, write down what you want to say. Write down how you're going to convey it. Put it on paper, what it is that you're thinking, feeling, believing, and be clear and concise in what it is you're trying to do. So that's my plan. And I only know how to do it the way I know how to do it. So I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I'm telling you I have a lot of them. And this is how I'm going to do it. Because guess what? It's on me. When I assumed the role as principal, I made a decision to lead the people in my care. Now I have to go in there and figure it out and put this in place. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to try to pull first thing, have the conversation, written down, and then check on the feelings of others. Now that's where I'm strong. I'm strong about checking on my people. So put myself in the environment that I'm checking on my people, but also giving them the things to move forward. And guess what? In front of them, I'm going to take the blame because it is my fault, and I should have done better. And now it's time for me to do better. When your feelings are on the table and in front, they can cause you problems. If you're leading with your feelings, be careful. There's a time and a place for it. But with situations like these, whether it's a human resource situation, hiring, an adjustment, IDPs, you know what I mean by independent development plans, you have to be clear and upfront, timely, and remember that you got to make a decision. An indecision is a decision. So get out your feelings and get to a spot where you can move forward. Come on, leader. It's time for a pep talk. Now get out there and get back in the game. All right. This is Dr. McGee, high school principal, speaker, coach, leader. And as we transition from being school administrators to school leaders, this is the work we got to do. It's time for a pep talk. Let's have a phenomenal week doing the work that we love, the tough work that we do, and do it with a passion, a fever, and a high amount of zeal so that you can serve those that are in your care with the greatest care that you can give them. All right? I love you. Let's get to work.